Hey everyone, I want to do a quick update on the layout. I've been making some progress in terms of design for the switching industries here on the layout and figuring out what I want to do for track and stuff like that. So I've got a future video coming up with that, probably the next one there. But real quick, I wanted to talk about actually what am I going to be modeling with this layout. That is, what era, what years, what rail lines, for example. Because up until 2 weeks ago, I kind of had an idea, but wasn't entirely sure. So obviously from the name of the channel, I'm going to be modeling Michigan, specifically southeastern lower Michigan. And that's where I grew up. That's what I'm used to seeing all the railroads around here throughout the, mostly the 90s. 80s is going back a little too far for me. I was a little young then. But 90s and 2000s is kind of the era that, I remember the most. And it's a really interesting era in Michigan because there's a lot of rail lines in southeastern lower Michigan, especially at that time that went through here. So I actually went back and dug out a bunch of pictures to kind of remind myself. I mean, I've got thousands of pictures. I'll show those here in a second, just as kind of a summary of what's here, but it's actually pretty cool. So primarily, I'm going to be modeling CSX. CSX is the biggest railroad in this area, but they weren't the only one. But in the 90s, the cool thing about CSX, and especially with the trains that were running, is that you had all sorts of road names mixed in with those trains. Because CSX was essentially made up of Chessie System, L&N family line, Seaboard Coast Line, Seaboard System. You even had some old B&O and C&O locomotives in there, and you would see those all mixed together in the trains. Besides CSX in Michigan, them running there, you also had Conrail. They were a major railroad in the area. You had Grand Trunk, you had Norfolk Southern, you had CP Rail, and also Soo Line. From basically being so close to Canada there in Windsor, you've got the tunnel going underneath the Detroit River that connects Detroit to Windsor. So you'd see a lot of CP rail. We'd also have CN, a lot of CN rail as well. And then from there you'd have all your smaller lines too. You'd have Tuscola Saginaw Bay, Central Michigan Railway, Ann Arbor Railroad. Here on the eastern, there was others too, but in the area from what I remember, there was just so many road names and locomotives, and that was cool. And that was kind of what I wanted to do, was go back and dig up some photographs and find everything that I remember there. So unfortunately, there's no dates in these pictures, and I don't really remember where I was either, so it's not that useful. Michigan, southeastern somewhere. Some might be a little further north towards Durand and maybe even as far as Lansing. I'm not sure, but anyway. So go through these real quick. I won't spend a lot of time with these. I mean, again, there's so many, but it's neat to see all the actual road names of locomotives there. So this first picture, obviously, you got a couple CSXs. You got a GE in front, and then I can't see the number of axles there. SD40, possibly, maybe GP40, and then you've got a lease locomotive. Then you've got a CN, then another lease locomotive. All together, which is pretty cool. Here's another one. So you've got a Conrail leading SD40, followed by a CSX GP40, and then a Grand Trunk GP40. So here you've got a couple Soo Line locomotives, and then I'm trying to remember where that was. I wish I remembered. Central Michigan. Here's three older GEs. Thought that was kind of a cool picture. Another cool mix up there. So you got CSX, Conrail, and Seaboard. Really old Seaboard GE in that photograph there. So again, excuse the quality of some of these. The cameras I had back then weren't very great. These smaller pictures I think were a 110 camera, which was just awful. I don't know why I kept these, but I did, and I'm glad I did, because in this one you actually see it's a Family Lines locomotive followed by CSX, and then another Family Lines behind it, which is pretty cool. Here you got L&N and Family Lines, both looks like GP38s. Yards somewhere. I don't remember where this is. I wish I was. I can't tell what those are, but you got a Seaboard System here, and then two CSXs. The old, mostly gray paint scheme for the CSXs. A little bit closer photograph of those two. Some GE locomotives. Here's another, SCL Family Line system, and then you got a CSX behind it. This picture I love because I love Seaboard System. I just love the logo. I've always liked the locomotives, but it's a cool mix-up. So you got a Seaboard SD50, which I have right here behind there as well. Then you've got a Seaboard, looks like a GP40, and then you've got, you can just barely tell it's an L&N. EMD, I can't tell what it is. Then you've got Chessie System, and then it looks like you've got two CP rails behind that. So again, just really cool mix-up of locomotives. Here, again, Chessie System, L&N, Seaboard, close-up of Seaboard System. I like this photo because this is how I'm going to kind of weather when I get to that eventually, some of my locomotives. I don't want them completely rusted to pieces, just, a little dingy, just to, make them look a little more realistic. So that'll be a good one, to use as a prototype. And then Amtrak. So Amtrak runs twice daily between Detroit and Chicago. And that's the Wolverine, as they call it. So you'd see those going by quite a bit as well. So here it's kind of cool because you got it back when they were running the FP40s, which I actually have. I've got a Spectrum version of that in HO. And then you've got the passenger car there, the train. So those cars are Amfleet, I think. Those are the Amfleet cars. Today it's made up of a mix of Amfleet and Horizon cars. It's a little bit different. And of course they're running the Siemens locomotives or whatever they are today too. But I thought that was pretty cool. So on my layout, if I wanted to be realistic, I could have, you know, the freights hold up the Amtrak train. Here another CSX followed by a Conrail. So another CSX, and you've got a Family Lines SCL. So it's a couple, 3 or 4 grand trucks right in a row there. CSX, couple EMDs, I'm sorry, a couple GEs, like Dash 8s, and then you've got a Tuscola and Saginaw Bay sitting there too. Again, have no idea where that is, but I don't know. It goes on and on. So just a ton of cool pictures. I'm still going through them too, but so in summary, that's what I'm going to be modeling is 90s southeastern Michigan, primarily CSX and the road names that followed with that, because that's kind of what I grew up with and that's what I remember the most. So that's why, you know, on my layout you see mostly CSX and Seaboard System locomotives. I do have one L&N. I've got a bunch of Conrail as well. So again, I'm going through all these and converting them to DCC because nothing I have is DCC except for the 3 that I have now too. I've got this SD50, I've got the GP40 and the GP38-2. So I've got more Tsunami sound TCC decoders coming as well, the soundtracks, and then I've got a couple more of the XL systems too. So again, in the little bit larger locomotives, the ones I run more, I'm going to be using the Tsunamis because I do like them a little bit better. They've got a little bit better, you know, startup sound quality, stuff like that. But for the price, you can't beat those XL systems. They still sound really good, and just for more of the mainline locomotives that I won't do a ton of switching with, it'll be good for those. But anyway, quick update, just what I've been doing, just, you know, pondering things and figuring out exactly what I want to do on the layout. So that's kind of the answer to that question. And then I'll have some updates coming for, like I said, the track and stuff like that. So hope that was interesting. Hope you enjoyed, and thanks for watching.